Greetings, Internet! I am Nightwize, and today we embark on a marvelous journey. A journey back to the fabled and legendary year of 1999. So recently, I've been posed the question of which season of Digimon was the best. I instinctively said Season 2, but it got me thinking. I remember loving the absolute shit out of Digimon back in the day, and I still praise it despite not actually rewatching a single episode for well over a decade. So I looked around a bit to see if there were any of these newfangled episode-by-episode retrospective series for Digimon Adventures. And I found... not very much. So I figured, you know what? I'll do it. I'll take on this mantle. I am going to rewatch and review every single episode of Digimon Adventures every week. Okay, maybe initially it will end up being every 2 weeks, but I will go over every episode, and together we will see if Digimon still holds up, or if there's a lot of nostalgia goggles involved. So I hereby invite you, yes you there with the hat, you know who you are, and everyone else, to join me on this quest for nostalgia and the complete murder of our childhoods by overanalyzing a kids' TV show. And yes, it's going to be the dub version. Why? Because the dub gave us the Digi-Rap.
The Digi-Volution is up and running. Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know what's coming? A Digi-Destiny starts today. Let me hear you say.
Jokes aside, I actually unironically love the Digi-Rap. And no, I'm not ashamed. Not one bit. The show starts with an opening narration by everyone's favorite protagonist, Tai.
That's home, planet Earth. But I'm not sure that's where I am right now.
Wait, is he narrating from the Digimon world? When is this opening narration supposed to be taking place? Is it pre-Apocalypse? Pre-Venom Meiotismon? Maybe we'll figure it out in a later episode. We'll see Tai just sitting somewhere with a handheld recorder telling us about day 52 of the Digimon incident and how he has now resorted to eating Izzy's legs for nourishment. The narration continues to describe what I can only imagine is going to be the result of the Trump administration.
The rainforest dried out, and other places got totally flooded with oceans like chocolate sauce.
Ha! I can laugh at it because I'm not an American. But yeah, this video is now officially dated. We are then introduced to the rest of our protagonist group, complete with name tags to make sure the kids at home aren't too confused by the Japanese names.
This is Sora. She's okay for a girl.
Ah, the good old days when elementary school kids weren't fucking yet. A freak summer blizzard kicks up and each kid is given a sentence to introduce us to their personality. Tai is the, what you'd call, average loud obnoxious 11-year-old. Tika is a little 7-year-old, because 7-year-olds are too young to have character traits. Matt is the older brother type chasing around his 7-year-old brother who's for some reason in the same cabin and part of the camp as a group of kids 4 years older than him. Are camps not segregated by age in Japan? Sora is... cold. Joe is a hypochondriac because there always has to be one of those in every stuck on a deserted island planet parallel digital world story. Mimi is an easily excitable, pink-loving, stereotypical girly girl.
That's Mimi. I'll bet you can guess her favorite color on the first try.
Have I mentioned she's a girl? And finally Izzy, the only sensible person who brought a laptop with him to summer camp. He is the nerd.
This storm's making a mess of my infrared internet connection.
Ah, the good old days of 1999 where no one knew how a netstick worked. He gets peer pressured outside to where everyone is staring open-mouthed at the pretty lights. They get bombarded by a shower of everyone's favorite Happy Meal toy, and get sucked up along with an entire river up into the sky. Seems legit. Luckily, the digital world has Moses on speed dial. But yeah, holy shit, that is some fast introduction. 5 minutes into the first episode and we're already in the digital world. That's impressive. Tai wakes up and has a fairly logical reaction to his predicament. Also, where did all the water go?
Everything's gonna be alright now, Tai.
How does he know his name? Hey look, stat screen! Ha! Abridged references. Izzy is being a typical 11-year-old who watches National Geographic in his spare time.
The vegetation is lush, but the soil appears rather common.
Which is what I did when I was 11, so nice going, Izzy.
Nerd!
He is also followed by a like something his mom will hide in a drawer. Tai looks around because of course a kid who thinks goggles are a perfectly fashionable accessory has a mini spyglass. He figures out they are not in Kansas anymore and then sees a massive ass flying beetle going straight towards him. How a creature with no eyes saw a tiny ass kid on top of a tree in the middle of a forest is beyond me. Koromon spits in Quagamon's general direction, and it's not very effective. But luckily Motimon knows where to find the local hiding tree. I'm not paraphrasing, by the way, that's literally what he calls it.
What kind of tree is this?
It's a hiding tree, silly.
Could have just as easily called it the plot tree. Sora, I guess, saw them entering the tree in 3/4, and the rest of the team also come out of the woodwork, having all already met their own something or other.
My own personal something or other.
Joe is the only sane person in the group who's still having trouble accepting the undying loyalty and affection of some weird-ass street gang dragon thing. I mean, just look at that flaming mohawk. It's so metal.
What are they?
We're Digimon! Digital monsters!
Title drop. And yes, they can also be funny.
We can be funny!
The troupe introduce each other, again telling us viewers what's everyone's shtick.
And the self-proclaimed cool one over there is mad.
No autographs, please.
Alright, we forgot Mimi. Her shtick is apparently being a damsel in distress. The good old days of 1999, when the internet has yet to make feminism a thing. Quagamon insists on cutting through the forest, which seems completely unnecessary. I mean, he can just fly up and into the clearing. Like, why? Maybe a tree killed his parents or something. And to be honest, in the Digimon world, that's an actual possibility. The troops see they have no chance and decide to leg it out of there before reaching the inevitable dramatic dead end.
Great! Anybody bring a helicopter?
Oddly specific. The Digimon all try to spit in the big bug's face, which distracts it enough to crash into the trees. The ones he didn't cut through before. They do all get heavily damaged, however, which begs the question that Tai asks a moment later.
Are you crazy? Why'd you do it?
Sorry, it's just, I'm trying to make a good impression.
A good impression on whom? The kids you just met and decided are your hetero life partners? Meanwhile, Quagamon gets up and Tai shows us an example of what makes him such an impeccable leader of men.
Okay, get ready to run.
Run where? But the Digimon want to fight and are literally raring to go.
Let me go, let me go, let me go, let me go.
I love Tsunamon. Also, what in Lucimon's name is that? Who decided to give the 7-year-old a nightmare-fueled Digimon? Christ! But now it's time for the biggest time sponge of any 90s anime. Transformation sequences.
Digivolve too? Agumon.
Followed by everyone's favorite, shout your attack before you do it.
Poison ivy!
The good old days when these tropes were unironic and not overused. The only one who doesn't showcase his attack is Goemon, who does the Digimon equivalent of a school prank. Let's see those sick moves again. From now on, I'm gonna refer to Goemon as the Aquaman of the group. They burn the gajazes out of the big fat nope, and everyone is happy and lives happily ever after until a moment later when the bug gets up because the power gap between 7 rookies and a champion is just that fucking big. It misses, but it does hit that one sweet spot in the cliff that will make the whole thing break off in one piece. Is that how it works? They just break off in one piece and fall down? But anyway, Quagamon's attack thus leaves us with our very first cliffhanger. Or cliff plunger. So yeah, the first episode. To be perfectly honest, pilot episodes are generally never the best in any medium. There's too much exposition to give, character introduction, setting and theme setup. That's a lot of information to convey in a 20-minute episode. So much that they even went for the to be continued, even with the uncontrollable bullet train pace of this episode. It also doesn't help that the show has a group of 7 kids as protagonists with 7 Digimon partners. That's 14 whole characters to introduce in one episode. No wonder the number of Digidestined went down with each season, it's insane. Other than that, we got a fairly basic call to adventure, but due to the sheer amount of information that needed to be conveyed, there's no time to focus or explain, and it basically hangs on whether you like the concept and design of the Digimon themselves. And as a kid, I did. The Digimon were all unique and different. And say what you want about comparing it to Pokemon, but the Digimon might have moved less, but they always did look more elaborate and more interesting than any Pokemon. So it was sufficient to make me want to keep watching it. The animation is, let's say, not super impressive. Very static, with the backgrounds and the characters very rarely looking like they're supposed to be part of the same show. It might be just an aesthetic style choice, with watercoloring-like backgrounds, I don't know. And it is understandable, there's a crap ton of Digimon and they only get more and more elaborate to draw, and the show only has so much money to spend on its animation. It's not terrible by any means, but every now and then we get shots like this. And this semi-3D thing, it looks weird sometimes. I will applaud Quagamon, he genuinely looks menacing and a little bit of a waste on the first episode. I mean, he looks even more threatening than some of the, boss Digimon they end up fighting. And yeah, I'm mainly referring to Etamon. We'll get to his do it like they do on the Discovery Channel head eventually. And I always liked the concept of Digivolution, because it's basically a standard shonen power of friendship, power up when you need it thing. And I do like me some shonen power-ups. I always remember Digimon as the more adult show when compared to the infinitely more successful Pokemon. I always appreciated it, especially because of that, even as a kid. And I think it's unfair that to this day there are still people who haven't watched it, who believe it's just a Pokemon ripoff. It had its own distinct style and humor, and I really hope that this series will convince some of these people to actually go and pick up this show and enjoy it like we all did. So let's hope it really does live up to my nostalgic expectations. In the Japanese version, the opening narration of each episode as well as the stat screen entries is done by who is revealed much later at the end of season 2 to be an adult Tai, which is actually really interesting. In the short term, it's a lot more engaging that the kids give you the narration, which is probably why the dub did it, but to wait all the way until the end of season 2 to reveal that the narrator was old Tai is one hell of an investment. Weirdly, he refers to the group as the kids. He tells the story from a third-party perspective. Maybe the decision to make him adult Tai wasn't made until later on. In the scene with the hiding tree, Izzy originally makes an observation about it being a holographic projection, and I honestly much prefer the dub in this instance because they clearly understood how much of a Deus Ex Machina this shit was, and they didn't try to hide it, they embraced it. Really, it's like the dub turned for a very brief moment into an abridged series. Also, Izzy does not have an infrared internet in the original, he just says it doesn't have reception because of the storm. Lastly, in the original version, the Digimon constantly tell the kids they have to protect them, like as if they are destined to protect them, like they waited very long to do it. Though none of this analysis is openly stated, it does give a different feeling and vibe to it than "we want to impress you, we want to show you what we're made of." So it does compensate for the lack of any explanation during the episode itself. Before we wrap up, I would like to shout out my main source for the comparison between the original and the dub. The aptly named Digimon Original and Dub Differences blog. Link below. It really is an impressive piece of work with a hell of a lot of tidbits that really made my research a hell of a lot easier. And we're done. The first leg of our journey is complete. But will the kids survive their plunge? Will Sora end up with Tai or Matt? Will Izzy ever hit that? We'll have to see in the next episode of Nightwize's digital journey.
The Digivolution is up and running. Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know what's coming? A Digi Destiny starts today. Let me hear you say. Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon are the champions. Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon are the champions.
It's a hiding tree, silly.